Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Professor Hall, and this is the third lecture about using the TEAL method, fixing problems with your essay paragraphs. We talked last time, there we go, about the TEAL, what the TEAL method was. That was our first lecture, and the second lecture looked at some examples. So TEAL stands for topic sentence, evidence, analysis, and link. This is similar to PEAL, point, evidence, explanation, link. It basically means the same thing. You're creating a topic sentence for the controlling idea or point for your paragraph. You're using evidence from your research to prove that point. You're introducing and citing that research, analyzing or explaining your evidence to make clear logical connections for your reader, and then linking back either to the claim that was in your introduction or to the next paragraph of your essay, depending on what you want to do. Sometimes people have that transition at the beginning of their essay, or of their paragraph, and sometimes they have it at the end. So you can play with the formula a tiny bit in that way. This method could be used in a variety of different essays or different types of paragraphs in the same essay, which is what we looked at last time. And there are a lot of different modes of writing, different types of formats for essays and writing, but we just looked at definitions, persuasion, informing, and also narrative. So a few different types were covered. The first problem that I see with people's essays is typically that they did not really use this TEAL method. So what they might have is something like too few ideas. It is beneficial to quit smoking. Smokers are less likely to get cancer, therefore you should quit smoking today. And they'll kind of look at me and be like, I don't know what else to say here. Or they have too many ideas. Quitting smoking has many benefits. I'm not going to read everything here, but you can see, living longer, improving finances, medical bills are mentioned, saving time, and so forth, right? Too many things all shoved into one paragraph. Way too many things. To be honest, this would not be a bad thing to have in your introduction, and actually this wouldn't be the worst claim in the world. I don't think it's that interesting. I think you could probably put it a different way, but they wouldn't be bad to have in an introduction. For body paragraphs, both of these people need to really slow down. Try to use that TEAL method. Neither one of these paragraphs has any evidence. Neither one of these paragraphs has any real explanation. It's just listing things or giving one example of one reason. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. What evidence could you find to answer those questions? Who, what, when, where, to what extent? Why is it beneficial? How many people are less likely to get cancer? Do you have statistics of that? Do you have an example of someone who stopped smoking and then didn't get cancer and someone else kept smoking? Do you have any facts or statistics, right? There's a lot of questions. How much longer is the person going to live? How much are medical bills from these problems? What are the effects of secondhand smoke? What are the problems with pregnancy? So yeah, a lot of unanswered questions there that you should really take the time to explore in your paragraph a little bit more slowly. So other problems that you might encounter, we're going to look at these one at a time. Basically, each one of these problems is an issue with the TEAL method, either leaving something out or not doing something quite the right way. So missing a topic sentence, this makes it difficult for the reader to follow your thoughts. If you don't introduce or cite your evidence, you run into accidental plagiarism. I have another video about how to avoid plagiarism, so if you're struggling with that, there are also a lot of resources for how to do citation. Too much evidence or too little analysis. So I talked last time about having a good balance. Basically what happens here is that the person has like quote, citation, quote, citation, quote, citation, but there's no actual explanation as to how that connects to your central argument. So you need to have connection and that explanation, or otherwise known as that analysis. The opposite can also be true. Too much analysis and not enough evidence. What happens here is the writer hasn't really done the research that was required. So there's a lot of stuff from them, no real evidence to support their thoughts. What I find there is there's a lot of vague phrasing. Things like we just saw. Quitting smoking can be helpful. What exactly does that mean? A lot of vague phrasing, a lot of generalizations with no specifics because there's no actual evidence. And no link to your claim or to the following paragraph. What happens there is that there's it's basically a choppy essay. There's no cohesion. It doesn't stick together. So each paragraph might be well written, but nothing really comes together as a whole. I have a whole set of lectures about transitions because I think that people struggle with this a lot. And I want to help you out with that. So if you look on my channel, you can find some of those videos as well if that's a problem that you have. But we'll look at it a little bit today as well. So, missing a topic sentence. Kevin Hart, the moment you realize you forgot it. So here's our previous paragraph. Oh, I want to say too, someone asked me last time, I'm not going to read every single word in these paragraphs because if I did, this little lecture would be like 50 minutes long. But I am going to just look at those components that we're kind of focusing on. So here's the previous paragraph in this essay about smoking. 20 minutes after a person quits smoking, their heart rate and blood pressure drop to normal levels. So the last paragraph was talking about short-term effects of quitting smoking, right? And how does this person start? Studies show that 15 years after they quit, former smokers have lower instances of, and then they have this little list. The problem is that because there's no topic sentence, there's a big jump. Right? We're jumping from 20 minutes all the way to 15 years. There's also no link, it doesn't look like, in the previous paragraph to move us forward. So it can be quite a bit confusing for your reader. If I was reading this, I'd be like, what about a year after? What about 2 years after? If I'm a smoker, do I have to wait 15 years to see a good effect? So let's add on a topic sentence. The previous paragraph, again, 20 minutes after a person quits. And here's the topic sentence. While short-term benefits are clear, over time, people who quit smoking see significant health improvements. So we mentioned what we just talked about, and we transitioned, but then we also focused on what we're going to be talking about here, how people who quit smoking see improvements over time. Studies show that 15 years after they quit, former smokers have lower instances, and then it gives the evidence, and then we go into that analysis. I love this meme. I don't know who made it. Oh, I see you've written a topic sentence. Why haven't you linked it back to your thesis? That happens quite a bit, that someone will have a paragraph that uses this TEAL method, but doesn't actually have anything to do with what they're talking about. So make sure that you check for that problem as well. Does your thesis relate to your overall claim? Here, the claim is that people should quit smoking, and this topic sentence does definitely link back to that. They're talking about the short-term benefits they just discussed, and now they're going to talk about the long-term benefits over time, how people can improve. If you can connect your evidence to the topic sentence, that would be great. That's another issue that comes up here. Again, 15 years later connects to the idea of over time. So this person has done that. This is another problem I didn't include here. Sometimes people pick quotes that really are not relevant. So that's just another issue that you might want to double check and look for. No citation or attribution. So the sandwich method that we've talked about before, I'm going to zoom in on this real fast. According to, and then the quotation. Here they have an analysis, but for our purposes, we want the citation before we get to that point, because we're using things from research. Whoops, I zoomed out too much. All right, so we have the topic sentence. While the short-term benefits are clear, over time, people who quit smoking see significant health improvements. Then we have what is called a dropped quotation. It's just dropped in there with no citation, with no attribution, with nothing to indicate who's talking or why I'm including this. And it's really confusing as a reader. I think a lot of times when writers do this, they know how it connects and they know what they're talking about. But for a reader, it's like, who is this from? Why are there quotes around it? I don't understand. So make sure that you have the introduction and then the citation. According to research conducted by U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And then I have this quotation. People who quit can reduce their chances of dying early by about 90%. And then I have my citation as well. Then it links into the analysis. Cite your sources, says Dwight Schrute, and also cite as you write. You don't want to wait and have all your research and then forget where you found things. So make sure you put those in as you're writing. In your TEAL paragraph, as you're typing it, you should have that citation, not just a blank set of parentheses. Okay, so next problem, too much evidence. I love this little cartoon because it really is like this. There's so much evidence. The other stuff just is crowded out and it's light on the topic sentence, the analysis, the link, all that really pales in comparison. So we have that same topic sentence. Now, if you notice, I used two different pieces of evidence. They're actually from the same source and it's quite a long quotation. So I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I do have the introduction to the quote, a very, very long quote, and then the page numbers. Now, this is called a block quotation. And sometimes, if you are a more advanced writer, you will want to use a block quotation. But when I say more advanced, I don't just mean that you're in college. I mean that you are writing a paper that is more than 10 pages long. If you have a 10-page paper and you have one block quotation in there, that's fine. If you have a 30-page paper, or if you're writing a dissertation or a master's thesis, and you have a number of block quotations, that's actually okay as long as they don't overpower everything. But for most students in high school and college, you're writing papers that are shorter than that, and you don't want to have block quotations, and you especially don't want to have more than one of them. For the papers for my class, I don't want you to have any. Write a paraphrase and put it in your own words. I want to know that you understand what the person is talking about. This is also some analysis I get. As you can see, a person's health can improve quite a bit by quitting smoking. That's not enough analysis. So the balance here is way off. And the real problem is, what I find people do this is because they've got, sometimes they do it for different reasons. Sometimes they have really, really good research and they think that the person has worded things in a unique way and they don't want to lose that by putting it into their own words. Other times it's just they don't trust themselves to explain the evidence or to analyze it. So if that's the case, you really look back at the other presentations about different ways you can analyze the evidence. We're going to talk in a minute too, different things that you can do to give that analysis if you're concerned. If you're in my class too, I have a resource for you called How to Do Analysis that gives you a longer list as well that can also help. But really, this is completely unbalanced. So what can we do here instead? Fixed. Deeper analysis and sticking to the point. That is college writing. I don't want to see just a quote, a bunch of quotes strung together. If I wanted that, I could just go and read your article online, right? You want to have a balance of your words and their words. So we have the topic sentence. And now, instead of having a quotation, I have a summary of what that, I have a paraphrase of that longer quote. So a smoker who quits can improve their chances by 60 to 90%, depending on the age when they quit. They also have lower incidences of illnesses, such as heart problems, lung disease, and cancer. So it's shorter. It's in my own words. I still have, according to, and the introduction to the quote, I still have the citation, but I'm showing that I understand what this research has to say, and I'm putting it, honestly, in a little bit more interesting way. And then I have the analysis. While it might be difficult to quit smoking, even if the smoker is not concerned about living longer, they can consider the quality of life. And then I would probably talk about the quality of life for some of these issues: heart problems, lung disease, cancer, etc. All right, the opposite problem. Look how happy she is being up in the air. That little piece of evidence. Too much analysis. So here, what happens is that there's some vague phrases, and actually, if you read this, the ideas here are not bad. Smokers should want to improve their health so that they don't have diseases. This can be a benefit. They will probably live longer and have a better life. They can do things like running and biking. These are actually some good examples. The issue is that there's no evidence to support it. Now, if you are writing an essay that does not involve research, and you're just writing from your own mind and your own experience, this actually would not be a bad paragraph. But if you have, if you're doing a researched paper, if you're doing a rhetorical analysis or any kind of paper where you're involving a text or research, you really need to include evidence to help support your point and to prove your ideas. So here is that paragraph fixed. We included from before the paraphrase from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and now we have the full analysis. Lengthening your life to stave off illness. There are other ways you can improve when you quit smoking. For example, you can run or go for a bike ride without puffing for breath. You could play with your kids or grandkids without getting tired, right? So I like that this gives some examples of what people can do without these types of illnesses and what they can do if they, connecting that to the evidence. And then you would have your link. That's weird. Okay. Missing a link or transition. I don't always use transitions, but when I do, my writing is much better. So this, I'm going to show you paragraph 3, the one that we just worked on. Even your taste buds can improve when you stop smoking is the final sentence. And then paragraph 4, the next paragraph of this hypothetical essay. The price of tobacco and vaping products has climbed drastically in recent years. So what is the problem here? And then the person goes on to discuss how much per pack and what the state taxes are and all that. There's no connection between lengthening your life, staving off illness, improving your quality of life, different things that you can do. There's no connection between that and the price of tobacco. So in their mind, the writer may have had some connections and saw, well, also, another way your life improves is through money. So now I'm going to talk about price of tobacco. But it's not on the page. So it's a little bit choppy here. So what can we add instead? Here's one link. In addition to improving health, quitting smoking can also improve a person's finances. We have that transitional phrase, in addition to, and it goes really well into the next point. that the price of tobacco and vaping products has climbed drastically. Or transition words don't all mean the same thing. So you could also say, Margaret King is just one example of someone whose health changed after she quit smoking. We just talked about health changes. Now the person, instead of jumping into the price of tobacco, is going to transition into talking about one woman's life and how it changed. Topic statement sentence. While many people believe that it's pointless to quit smoking once they develop COPD, King describes the ways in which her COPD flare-ups lessened when she gave up cigarettes. So I just gave you guys these two examples to show you that there are a number of ways you can transition. There are a number of different things you could do in your essay. So let's recap, putting it all together. First, the first two problems, having too many ideas or too few ideas. Dig deeper. Use the TEAL method to have a fully developed paragraph. It should be a third to a half of a page. And as that one meme said, college writing means going deeper and doing focused analysis. Have a strong topic sentence, not an announcement or in first person, to help your reader follow your thoughts. So you don't want, in this paragraph, I'm going to talk about, right? You want something that shows the reader without telling them what that topic is going to be. Include a piece of evidence and make sure to introduce and cite that evidence. Balance the evidence with analysis. For every one line of quotation, you should have 3 lines of explanation or analysis. And if your quote is too long, you can summarize a longer passage, like a couple paragraphs or a page or even the whole essay or the whole article. Or if it's a shorter piece, you can always write a paraphrase. Then transition to your next point with a clear link, using a word or sentence to connect to your claim or to link one point to the next. By using this method, you can easily organize each paragraph in your essay. You can have organized, cohesive essays, and you can provide your reader with clear, logical support for each idea that you have. And I honestly think that getting this method down can take care of 75% of the problems you might encounter with writing. If you can figure out how to do this, you can definitely have that perfect essay paragraph. Thanks, everybody. I hope this helped.